Rogue's Manta Ray adjustable bench is in many ways the best bench you can buy. But as I always say, high prices breed high expectations. And make no mistake, this is an expensive piece of equipment. So I'm going to be meticulous and unforgiving in this review. This is Rogue's latest and greatest, a polished over-the-top ladder-style bench with the ability to do decline or even perform Nordic curls if you pick up the optional leg roller attachment. But it doesn't matter how nice it is if it doesn't beat the competition. And when we posted on Instagram asking what you wanted to know about this bench, by far the biggest request we got was to compare it to Rep's BlackWing bench. So I put them side by side for this review, and at the end, I'll give you my honest opinion on whether I think the Manta Ray is worth it compared to the BlackWing. But I will say it's not really a fair fight, and this is probably the best bench I own. And I own about 17 more than any normal person should, which would be one, and we've got Rep's AB5200 2.0 and Irwin's adjustable bench coming, so subscribe for those reviews. But just because this is an outstanding bench, even if not perfect, doesn't mean I'd recommend it to everyone, because it's also the priciest bench I own. So for that guy in the comments that says, y'all could have told me the price up front and saved me 15 minutes, let's get it out of the way now. The Manta Ray cost just under $1,100 shipped. So feel free to spam the comments with your opinion on the price. And no, that has nothing to do with you helping me out on the algorithm. I'm just here to help you work through your feelings. And since I bought this myself and the channel will never make the money back, you can help me keep this channel alive, or more importantly, me alive when my wife watches this and hears how much I paid for it, by using the affiliate links to the benches we talk about in this video, which are in the description. Because remember, I did this review for you, not because of my own crippling bench addiction. There's some things about the Manta Ray that really stick out to me. So while we go in depth here, I want to pay special attention to a few things, including all the adjustments Rogue has made to this bench from the original prototype, because I think they've actually done a pretty good job of listening to the community and adjusting things, which hasn't always been their strongest suit. The pad has been swapped, the handles have been changed, and even some adjustments have been made to the leg rollers. But there's also a few issues I found that I'd like to point out along the way as well. The first thing you're probably asking is, why would somebody spend this kind of money on a bench? And to me, the answer to that is, if you're looking for a commercial quality bench, and I know that gets thrown around a lot in reviews, but this thing with its 3-inch by 4-inch 7-gauge steel frame, when put next to the BlackWing's 2-inch by 3-inch 11-gauge frame, it's not hard to see the difference. Now, this is a high-end home bench, and it's a great bench, but let's take a second to appreciate Rogue's design here. You've got a large rectangular welded frame that sits flush to the back versus a tubular brace with some more braces welded on. The 4x3 frame allows Rogue to integrate the ladder mechanism into the frame, which not only gives it a more streamlined design versus bolting the ladder cage on, but they've also encased the ladder in UHMW, so the whole thing will look just as pretty years down the road. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm thorough, or maybe I've just become skeptical after reviewing things for so long, but I pulled the UHMW off the ladder because I wondered what's actually holding this thing up when I'm incline benching over 500 pounds. And I found that they're using 3/8-inch thick steel teeth that are held in place by a plate they've welded into the frame, and then they've further reinforce that whole thing by welding another tube onto the main tube. Listen, the Manta Ray doesn't have a weight capacity for a reason. It's not overbuilt, it's built to be indestructible in a commercial gym, whereas Rep is targeting the home gym market. But that doesn't mean a few brave souls like myself won't challenge their marriages by getting one. So does the beefy frame and heavy gauge steel mean it's a more stable bench than the BlackWing? Yes, but let me explain. On the BlackWing, they're using pillow block bearings to rotate the pads on, whereas the Manta Ray, just like with Rep's AB5200, Rogue's AB 3.0 and other popular ladder style benches hinge on a bolt and some bushings. As for which system is better, if I give them the patented sideways shove that doesn't actually correlate to how we use benches push test, you can see that the Manta Ray is maybe a little more stable, but with one caveat. With Rogues and basically anyone using a bolt, you have to tighten it correctly, because if it's too tight, your pads won't move freely, and if it's too loose, your pads will wiggle some. But I really think I'd be doing some real nitpicking to complain about either of these benches' stability. Now, since I've got the optional leg rollers, which do cost another $200, we should talk about how this bench is for decline work and Nordic curls. And decline, and this applies to decline bench and during core work, the Manta Ray is very stable, which makes sense because, as I mentioned, the frame around the back pad is very substantial. And it becomes an advantage for the Manta Ray in that you only have one pin to pull if you want to lock in or remove the attachment, versus Reps where there's two. One that locks it in place, and then another one that you kind of have to hold the leg rollers up while you tighten it down to really lock it into place. But side by side with Rogues, it's not hard to see they're at a different level. And I'd say the same thing about a lot of these imported benches like the GetRx Fid AB2. Many of them are using the same foam in the rollers. It works fine, but putting it up against Rogues is kind of like putting Winnie's thighs up against your average person. I mean, she's got her own flag and t-shirt for a reason. Rogue's rollers are thicker, more comfortable, and really the whole attachment is beefier than Reps, even if they both accomplish the same things. I bet you can actually probably fit Reps into Rogues, which looks weirder than it even sounded, but it does answer the question we get every time we review one of these things, and that's whether the rollers are compatible with each other, and unfortunately, these are not. But they are a good example of Rogue listening to the community, because originally the rollers only had one hole, so they wouldn't lock in if reversed. But after getting some feedback, they provided a second hole, so now you can flip it over and insert it whichever way you want. It's a small change, but as we'll see, they've made a lot of other changes from the original prototype, and this is one that allows the rollers to be safely used for Nordic curls. Another example of that, and a much bigger deal than Rogue just drilling another hole, is the inclusion of this pad with the Donnie Thompson vinyl, because originally it looked like they might use the same material that's on the AB 3.0, which is too narrow, slick, and very hard. This pad, though it is a little stiff, is what makes this bench exceptional. It doesn't matter how good everything else is, and everything is very good, but the pad is your direct connection with the bench. If it sucks, the whole bench sucks. And this, in my opinion, is still the best vinyl out there. Sure, Rep's Gen 3 vinyl that's on the BlackWing and will soon be on all their benches is great, and the gap between Rep's and Rogue's Thompson vinyl has shrunk, but that's really just because Rep and really everyone else is basically trying to emulate this. The grip on the two of them is actually very similar now, but Rogue is using a vinyl that's a little thicker and tighter on the pad, as you can see by this very technical pinch test. Here, I get basically nothing, whereas with Reps, if I pinch, I can kind of get a little bit. Now, will the difference in the pads matter to the average person? No, they're both very good 12-inch wide pads, but all these little things do add up. But I should say, Rep does have a little bit of an advantage at the moment since they offer a 14-inch wide option. Both benches are incredibly adjustable, with the Manta Ray having 10 back positions ranging from 0 to 85 degrees and 5 seat positions, which is a little bit less than the BlackWing at 12 back and 6 seat positions. But the only real difference here is that with the BlackWing, you can do a -8 decline even if you don't have the leg rollers, and Rep has the 0 gap functionality, which has really been improved upon from the AB 5000, but it's probably unnecessary with the BlackWing's 1-inch gap. That crack is so tight and so small, you won't even notice if you slip into it. This thing was very well packaged, with Rogue using a thick, heavy, double corrugated cardboard and a high density foam to keep everything in place. An assembly was very straightforward since it's kind of half assembled for you. Instead of getting your typical plastic sealed hardware, the Manta Ray has every nut and bolt already in place. You just loosen them and then put things where they belong. And the entire assembly process took me and my oldest son about 20 minutes. Though I think he's getting a little sick of putting together benches, but it is a huge improvement over the AB 3.0, which took us almost an hour, but he's grown up a little bit since then, so maybe he's just getting better at helping, because I can't imagine I've gotten any more competent. Now, I know I've been pretty kind in this review, but that doesn't mean I don't have a few more complaints. As of now, there's only one finish, this medium gloss black, though they must have gotten sick of me asking because they added a note about future colors. But as an early adopter, I'm not in love with the fact I didn't get a choice, and that note wasn't originally there when I ordered. The production lead time is pretty high on this, but it seems like it's become the norm for every company to have lengthy pre-orders, but I do expect Rogue will shorten it over time. And I still think Rogue oversells things at times, like the convenient set of premium caster wheels. Thanks, it's very generous of you to include quality wheels on something this expensive, but the non-premium wheels on the 3.0 do kind of suck. Hey, at least the quality of my videos have improved, even if my personality hasn't. And I guess if I wanted to nitpick, I'd ask for these ladder handles to be knurled, or maybe even the front handle, though the front handle is another example of Rogue listening to feedback, because it was originally supposed to be plastic like the one on the 3.0, but if you've got an option for a stainless steel knurled handle on the Monster Utility Bench, it kind of seems like a missed opportunity here, with this being such a premium bench otherwise. One thing I don't have any complaints about, surprisingly, is the weight of this bench, and that's because my wife didn't complain about it when she decided to make a joke on Patreon, where she picked up and moved all of our benches, and the Manta Ray and AB 4100 were actually the ones she liked the most. So why didn't she mind the Manta Ray, even though at 140 pounds it's heavier than the BlackWing? Well, here at Gluck's Gym, we prefer them a little heavier on the backside, and the weight distribution actually makes this feel lighter than it is when moving it, which also makes storing it upright easier. Some of that may also be that it's a little bit more compact. If you compare their footprints, you'll see that they're both within IPF specs for width and height, and they're both tripod style benches, so the front leg won't get in your way during bench press, but the Manta Ray is actually slightly smaller. If I was forced to only own one bench, which would be a scary thought, right now this would be it, because it's a little bit better in every way versus the BlackWing. Now, does that mean you should go rush off and buy it? Absolutely not. It's incredibly expensive, and you can get the BlackWing for like 60% of the price, and it's gonna do everything this bench will do. But listen, who am I to tell you how to spend your money? If you're happier and healthier for it, then click my affiliate link and spend as much as you want. If you want what might be the best bench there is, and you want American made, this is an incredible piece of equipment, and I think you'll love it. But if you're still unsure and want me to do a huge bench showdown with every bench I own, let me know and I'll make it happen. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and check out our BlackWing review here if this one's more your style. Thanks to our patrons, links in the description. Hope this video was helpful. I'll see you next week.